Hello! I don't know if my audio is going to work, but we're going to give this a shot. So in this little video demo tutorial, I'm going to explain how to fill in a croquis sketch with swatches of your fabric. And I found that this is the easiest way. I use Photoshop. I feel like I have more control over how I fill things in and how I can customize it. Illustrator is best when you're using vectors, so anytime you want to expand a certain type of graphic, it's going to help with the pixels, or it's not going to let the pixels look all like fuzzy. But if you do something in Photoshop, you have a little bit more control over how you are manipulating the pixels. Again, I don't know if my audio is going to work, so bear with me on this, but so yes, I use Photoshop. And I also want to say in advance, I'm sorry if you hear any background noise. I think my father is mowing the lawn, and I think my mom is playing some music. So just ignore that. So the very first thing I'm going to go over is I have my croquis here on the left, and I have my fabric swatches that I'm going to be using on the right. I have already included all the fabric swatches in this document, so it makes it a lot easier to place them into the sketch. Another thing I want to know, or I want to talk about, is that I have all of my layers here, and I have a separate layer for my croquis because I have drawn the sketch over top of the croquis. And I just did this very quickly in Photoshop, so depending on how you have drawn the sketch, it might be a little bit more challenging, but this is the fastest way that I have found to fill in garments. So the reason why these are separate is because we want to treat these as separate entities. And we actually want to have our fabrics, technically speaking, laying under the outline of our drawings. So, that being said, these are just sketches right now. Nothing is filled in. I'm going to zoom in really quickly to my croquis. And the very first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the layer that I want to fill in first. So I want to do the shirt first, and I'm going to create a new layer and put it directly underneath the line art. And I'm going to call this shirt fill. Now, this is going to seem a little weird at first, but all I'm going to do is lay the foundation of a base color that I can use to later apply a fabric to. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick a random color. It literally does not matter what color it is. And all I'm going to do is very quickly and very roughly, because this is just a sketch, I'm going to fill in the part of the shirt that I want to apply a fabric swatch to. So again, I'm going to do this very quickly. It's totally fine if it's going outside the lines. This is also just to show you, very generally speaking, what you want to do. Okay, and I am going to clean this up just a little bit so it looks a little nicer, but again, it does not have to be perfect because it is just a sketch. Now, I have my shirt fill, and I am going to actually use one of these three swatches. So I'm going to do, let's do this mustard one. So I want this mustard fill, the swatch, to replace what I've just filled in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this layer, and with my V tool, I'm going to move this swatch over top. And I'm also going to move the layer so that the layer is directly on top of my shirt fill. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to right click. I'm going to right click on this layer, and I'm going to say create clipping mask. Now what this is going to do is it's going to take whatever is on this layer and clip it or mask it to the layer directly underneath it. So now it's going to conform to whatever is on this layer. So for example, this is just an example, if I were to draw anything else on this layer, the layer above it that is clipping to it is going to clip no matter where it is. Now if I keep drawing everywhere, you'll notice it's kind of blue. That's because that is where the bound of the swatch is. So now we have our base, and I'm also going to fill in, make a new layer, put it underneath the shirt, and now I'm going to fill in this sleeve because I want this sleeve to be separate from the body of the shirt. One thing that you want to keep in mind is that whatever swatches are different, you want to make sure that you're filling in different areas. So I never like to color in the whole shirt because later down the road, I might decide that I do want one sleeve to be different from the body. So it saves me a lot of work right now if I just fill in everything separately. So just for the sake of the demo, I'm going to change the color, and I'm just going to color in the part of the sleeve that I want to have a new swatch. It's also important to know that this layer is sitting on top of the shirt fill. So if I want to kind of make it easier for myself, I'm actually just going to move this layer underneath the shirt fill, because if not, you see how this little purple spot is kind of hiding that body. I'm just going to move this underneath, and I'm going to call this left sleeve, because this is the wearer's left sleeve. And I'm going to just clean that up a little bit. Okay, and now I'm going to fill in this sleeve with this floral swatch. So I'm going to move this actual layer directly above the left sleeve layer. And then I'm also going to move the swatch with my V tool over it. Now you'll notice how the repeat is quite large. I'm going to actually just do Command T or Control T if you're on a PC. Going to shrink the swatch while holding Shift so it keeps the dimensions, just so that we get a better sense of scale. You can also rotate it if you want to go with the same grain as the sleeve, but that's not necessary. And then I'm just going to hit the check mark at the top when I am done. So I have my swatch here, and then I'm just going to go back to this layer. I'm going to right click, create clipping mask, and then it'll clip to the bounds. I'm going to repeat this process for all of the stages. So I'm just going to do those really quickly. But you always want to make sure that the line art is above your fill, and that your line art for the clothing is above your croquis. So that way it looks like it's physically sitting on top. So we're going to make the right sleeve, change the color. Sure, let's do that. Why not? Right sleeve is a little bit different. And again, this is just a sketch, so you'll notice how, you know, the line art's kind of funky or things are overlapping, and that's okay. This is just a quick sketch. So I'm going to use this guy right here. This guy. Move that layer right above it, and I'm going to move it over. If you want, you can change the scale, because why not? You just want to make sure that the swatch is the same. It'll cover all of the part that you want to fill in. So I'm going to right click, create clipping mask. Okay, I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to call this top skirt, and I'm just going to be filling in this top part of the skirt because these are going to be two different fabrics. I'm going to make that this kind of mauve-y one, but we're going to do the top skirt first. Let's make this like a nice whatever color. Ooh, that was so bad. Everything's fine. Again, not perfect. Who cares? Now, one thing we can also do is, if I want this skirt to look like it's laying on top of this sleeve, we can just move that. There we go. And then again, if we want to, we can just shirt. This is my shirt layer. I'm just gonna get rid of this little part so it looks a little cleaner. Perfect. Clean this up. Lovely. All right, and then I'm gonna move this swatch directly above the top skirt, and then I'm also going to go in with my V tool, move it over, change the scale if you want. Oops. Just make sure that the swatch is either the same size or bigger than the swatch or the area that you want to cover. I'm going to right click, create a clipping mask, do it again one last time for the bottom skirt. I'm just going to do something really quickly. You don't have to worry about this. Bam. If you want me to explain how to do that, just let me know and I'll do like another do-over, but I'm just doing this for the sake of time. I'm going to move the swatch directly above the layer you want to fill. You use your V tool to physically move the swatch. And I am going to use this for this bottom part here. So I'm going to directionally shift. Cool. And then I'm going to right click, create clipping mask, and there you go. That is the quickest and most efficient way to fill in swatches for a merchandising plan, or also for any kind of sketch where you want to visually see what the fabrics are going to do. I also want to show something really quick before we go. All I'm going to do is hide the layers of the fills of the fabrics, just so you can see why I made them all separate and why they are different colors. This way makes it a little bit easier for me to distinguish what layers are separate from each other. So I know that this is all one different fabric. This is all one different fabric. This is separate, that's separate, that's separate. Everything is separate. If you wanted to have your two sleeves exactly the same swatches, you can use the same color and put it on the same layer. But regardless, I just like to have everything be separate regardless. That way it makes it easier later down the road if you want to change things, especially for a merchandising plan. So you want to make sure it's fluid enough. The other cool thing we can do, I'll show you if you want to change something. If you want both of these sleeves to be the same, if I like this floral print, I can just go to my right sleeve, which is this one. I want to get rid of this swatch. I'm not going to delete anything. I'm simply going to create a new layer, and it's going to automatically make it a clipping mask because it's directly underneath this swatch. So if I want a different swatch, I'll just put this layer above this new swatch and hide the layer. Then I can go to this layer of my floral sleeve, this one, and I can Command A or Control A, and then you're gonna click on this layer, Command Paste. And that didn't do anything. Okay, never mind. Never mind. What we're gonna do is we're going to, yeah, we can do that. Okay. So you're going to click on this floral swatch, and then with the Option key, you'll notice that my cursor has the copying feature. So Option, click and drag. It's going to make a new copy of this floral layer. And then we can just click and drag this into our new right sleeve swatch. I'm just going to delete that layer. So ignore everything I just said. But then if we do Command T, we'll notice we have a new copy of our floral. Then you can hit the check, and there you go. Super easy. So that's one way to change the swatches. You can also just, take a new swatch that you can import and then just make a new layer. But I never like to delete anything because maybe I don't like that floral. Maybe I like this swatch instead. So that way it makes it a lot easier to go back and forth. It may seem a little tedious at first, but trust me, if you do all of these steps and you make sure that you keep everything separate, and you also just keep everything, never delete anything, it is going to save your life, and it'll make things a lot faster down the road if you have to make changes. So that is all for this tutorial. If you have any questions, just text me or email me or whatever. I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. I hope this was helpful, and thank you for watching.